we really are looking primarily at developing a sustainable fuel cycle for the future. And that ties in with the objectives of maximizing the resource utilization, minimizing the waste, having efficient safeguards and security, and reducing the proliferation risk. We further break the fuel cycle technologies or fuel cycle R&D objectives down into some near-term and long-term activities. Now, looking at the near-term activities, there's some fairly obvious ones, primarily addressing our used fuel disposition management strategies for the United States. And then a lot of that is coming out of the Blue Ribbon Commission results that came out, and then the departmental strategy that was issued last year. But then if you look more for the midterm and the longer term activities, that's where this area of the NEUP awards is really coming into play, because fundamentally what we're looking at in this area is more creative, out of the box, higher risk but higher rewards types of activities, and also those activities that are not specifically covered in the other competition areas. Before I go further, though, let me talk a little bit about the nuclear fuel cycle as a system. And this is a really important point, especially as we look at our longer term, higher risk, higher payoff type of activities. All these, this slide pretty much breaks the entire program down into some specific functional areas. And you can see that they're all quite stovepipe when you look at those technologies individually. On the bottom, though, you see that the safeguard security by design activities has to look at the technology across the nuclear fuel cycle, and when you're looking at the systems analysis or fuel cycle options analysis areas, that also has to look across the different functional areas. In the center we have the reactor technologies. Now that we're not talking about that for this program area, but recognize even though the reactor technologies are the workhorse, what I consider the workhorse of the nuclear fuel cycle, you have to have a front end to bring the uranium or fuel material. You have to put it into a fuel. Then once it comes out of the reactor, you have to manage it, whether you're recycling it or whether it goes through a once-through type of process. The material has to be managed. So when you look at this functional area, it tells you part of the story. But then on this next slide, the point I want to make that all of these individual steps are connected with other portions of the nuclear fuel cycle. And so when you do look at specific technology for a specific step, clearly we want to enhance the performance of that step. However, you can't do that in a vacuum. The idea here is that any improvement or any option that you're looking at to improve that step in the nuclear fuel cycle, you have to look at it in the context that it's related to other steps of the nuclear fuel cycle. And this is my last slide that I'm going to talk to today. And what it does is it kind of breaks those functional areas into those that are primarily focused on the near-term activities and then those that are focused on the longer-term type of activities, because our program really does have to have a balance. And I think in this area, the emphasis is more on the blue sky, as I said, high risk, high payoff type of technology areas. There might be some opportunities to invest in some of the innovative concepts that the universities bring in the nearer term activities. So I think that the fundamental points that I want to leave you with are that this is an area where the page is blank. Bring your best and most innovative ideas. That's what we believe the universities do best for our program, for our department. And also think big, think long term, recognizing that this is a smaller investment. It's limited to $400,000 for an award. We still don't think we still believe that that's a good amount to get really great ideas started. And with that, I will open it up to questions, and I thank you for your attention.
We'll keep Andy on the line for a few minutes if you have any questions. Please submit them at this time through the question box. Andy, the first question is, are there any specific priorities to specific portions of the fuel cycle that should be focused on for this mission supporting area?
There's no really single point of emphasis. If you look at back at my near-term, long-term slide, clearly the response to the Blue Ribbon Commission and the accident tolerant fuel area is an important area, the areas that we're looking at near term. So from an urgency standpoint, those have some priority. But I think for this topic, I think really the longer term activities are the point of emphasis. Other than that, I wouldn't want to steer you toward any one of the steps in the fuel cycle.
How many proposals do you estimate will be funded in this area?
This year, we hope to award 2 in this area, and those hopefully will be announced in the near future. So I envision approximately 2 being awarded in the next year.
Candy, it looks like that is all the questions that we have. If you have any further questions, especially technical questions, you can refer them either to Andy or to Kamal, and I am not going to slaughter his last name, at the Idaho there we go. At the Idaho National Laboratory. Those can be submitted by email to them, and they'll be answered and posted to NEUP.gov for use by the entire community.
And I did not include it in my slides, but my email address is andrew.griffith@nuclear.energy.gov. Thank you.
As an additional point, all of those technical points of contact are listed on NEUP.gov. And it looks like we are getting some additional questions, and we gave some time. So what is the criteria for evaluation of a new idea in addition to innovation?
Well, technical content, technical clarity, and all the similar points that you go through for the other areas. There is a relevancy weight or a relevancy portion of the evaluation, but the technical portion of the criteria of the evaluation has a greater weight, and in this case, particularly can help carry the evaluation quite far in the consideration. So I don't think there's anything special about this area from a technical quality standpoint.